Good morning. Thank you for joining me for Walking with the Word today. Got a very sweet little sleepy boy here. Got another boy playing just over there. He's enjoying this beautiful place. This morning we went out and it was just raining. It was one of those mornings where it was chucking it down. It's hard not to get down-spirited when the weather's a bit like that. Whoops, just falling into a hole there. As I was driving along, this verse came to me, Matthew 5, verses 44 and 45. Jesus is encouraging his disciples to be indiscriminately good and kind and caring and patient and loving, and to pray for people, whether they're friends, whether they're family members, or whether they are enemies. Now, to say enemies, it sounds like such a kind of, it's like a term of kind of battle or fighting, and we sometimes don't think that we've got enemies, but then we realise that there are people out there who will gossip behind our back. They'll say mean things about us, they'll judge us, they'll act unjustly towards us, they might try and rip us off or scam us or cheat us in some way. And look at that big stick, that is an amazing stick, good find there, buddy. I think that's what it means by enemy. So an enemy doesn't have to be someone that you're in all-out combat with. It may not be that you're fighting with someone in a kind of explicit, overt way. And it can be quite a subtle thing, that the idea of having enemies. But Jesus says that we need to show love and kindness and goodness towards people indiscriminately. And then he goes on to say this. He says, just as the sun shines on the righteous and the unrighteous, and the rain falls on the righteous and the unrighteous. And I was reflecting on this. This is a really interesting phrase. Now, when the Bible uses this phrase righteous, it's not a bad thing. I think sometimes when we hear the word righteous, we think self-righteous and we think that's a bad thing. But actually, when the Bible talks about righteousness, it's a good thing. We're called to seek righteousness. Righteousness is the goodness and the holiness and the morality and the value and the life of God. Righteousness in the Bible is a good thing. So what he's saying is that there are people who live in a kind of faith-filled, righteous way and care for God, care for other people, they have good lives, and there are people who don't live in that way. There are people who the Bible describes as unrighteous. But what Jesus says about this is, he says the sun shines on both the righteous and the unrighteous, and the rain falls on both the righteous and the unrighteous, so that the sun and the rain don't discriminate between whether people are good or bad. Now, sometimes you'll hear people saying, why does God let bad things happen to good people? And why does God let good things happen to bad people? It just seems to be so unjust. And I think there's a slight clue here. It's not a full answer, it's not a full apologetic, it's not a full philosophical answer that addresses the question, but I think it's a starting point. I think what Jesus is saying here is that we all live in a world that operates by physical laws, and we're all subject to the same forces of nature. So when the rain falls, it doesn't matter who you are. I really felt this morning. I'm like, it doesn't matter who you are going out this morning, whether you're rich or poor, whether you're clever or not clever, whether you're educated or not educated, whether you're strong or weak, whoever you are, you're going to be walking out on a rainy day. And you can't change that. Everyone experiences that, whether you're a good person or a bad person or whatever kind of person you are. I think when you kind of get into the Bible, you look at this idea of a bad person, and the Bible reveals that people do things for reasons, and people sometimes just act out of brokenness and lostness and not knowing God. So please don't hear judgment in what I'm saying here. The Bible recognises that people act in the way they do for reasons. But whoever you are, and whatever your reasons are, and whatever your brokenness is, and whatever your wholeness is, and whatever your wins and your victories, and whatever your failures are, we all live in the same world where sometimes the sun shines and sometimes we have this beautiful weather that we could all enjoy together, and other times the rain falls. And I think what Jesus is saying here is that there's a kind of equalising effect of the fact that we all live in a world, and sometimes bad things happen to us, whether we're a good person or not, and sometimes good things happen to us, whether we're good people or not. And I think the point is, Jesus is saying we're called as Christians, as followers of him, to be indiscriminately good in the same way that God shines sunlight on the whole world indiscriminately, just loving and showing grace. That's how we should be. We should be light and truth and grace. What's happening over here? Do you want to say hi?
Hi, I live in here.
You live in here. This is my beautiful boy, and this is where he lives. I'm afraid that we've moved him into this little house in the woods. This little boy's starting to cry, so I'm going to have to go. God bless you. Have an amazing day, and stay safe, take care, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye for now. Say bye-bye.